we are going to try and attempt to give you our top 10 favourite movies of all time.
But this is a record-breaking podcast. We're doing 3 in a day. It's going to be abundantly clear to any listeners and watchers. Bram Stoker's Dracula.
Bram Stone's Pickle Maker.
Did you say Bram Stoker's Pickle Maker?
I don't know what you're on about. You said fucking 3 films. I got a fucking clue what it's on about.
What the fuck's going on? Hi, I'm Adam.
And I'm Josh.
And welcome back to the Breaking Bread podcast. They say silence is golden. Not on this podcast. Podcast? Wrong.
Run it back.
Hi, I'm Adam.
And I'm Josh.
And welcome back to the Breaking Bread... For fuck's sake. Hi, I'm Adam.
And I'm Josh.
And welcome back to the Breaking Bread podcast. They say silence is golden. Not over here.
That took you 3 takes.
Where am I even going with that? Hi, I'm Adam.
And I'm Josh.
And I'm sorry for A, farting in the intro, B, coming up with some weird non sequitur that didn't really make sense about silence being golden. But we're back. This is a record-breaking podcast. We're doing 3 in a day. It's going to be abundantly clear to any listeners and watchers. I don't even know who I am anymore. I feel like I'm on a different astral plane. But today I'm going to get straight into it. I'm not going to ask you what you've been doing because it's the same fucking week. We're going to be doing, I think this is my idea, which is why it's so shit. We're going to be doing our 10 favourite films, which we think people might find interesting. And we're going to foster an attitude of... inclusion by getting people in the comments to tell us what their favourite films are as well, and bring it together into a mishmash of...
Is this just a hybrid podcast now where we've brought your other podcast that you haven't done for 6 months? And then this
That was never my part. I was just a special guest on that podcast.
He's changed his tune now, hasn't he? Fucking hell. Right, as always, guys, we're going to start off this podcast.
And girls and any... What was it? Any assignment in between?
We're going to start off with the YouTube comment segment. Roll VT.
It's time for a YouTube comment from you.
So this week's question... Sorry. So this week's... Fuck.
God.
This week's comment is from Andy Rodriguez. It's not even Andy.
Lads, it's falling apart. Come on. Get it together.
Let's go. Right. All right, so this week's comment comes from...
What the fuck's going on?
Pick it up.
This is your fault, you prick.
Come on, what's this comment?
Right, so this comment is from Andre Rodriguez. I can't believe you missed the opportunity to call your clips channel Breaking Bread Crumbs.
Oh man, we should pay this guy, like PayPal him like 20 quid for that idea, because that is actually, you could probably change it now.
I think we should change it.
You can change. It might look a bit weird though if people don't actually know the format. Breaking Bread Crumbs brackets clips. People don't really understand stuff that's not literal these days, really.
Yeah, I like that though. That's clever.
Great idea.
That is clever.
Andre,
yeah.
Andre, that's a class. That is really good.
Mate, are you okay? Are we back in business now?
I'm all right. Yeah.
He's coughing in corner. Look, as we said, this is this attempt at trying to record 3 episodes in a day because Adam's going away this weekend.
It's my fault, right? I'll take the flak for it. It is my fault.
But we have got a fun episode planned. We are going to try and attempt to give you our top 10 favourite movies of all time, which when you first suggested that, I thought that would be very difficult. Like, I thought 10, that's a lot. You know, like if we're going to talk about each one, that's 20 in total. We might have a bit of an overlap. But I thought that's quite a lot. But it proved to be more challenging than I thought to actually condense it to 10.
Yeah. And we should say we're talking about our 10 favourite films here, not objectively the 10 best films. I think those are 2 very different things. So one of the films from my list, only one of the films in my favourite films list would actually put on the 10 best films. You know, that like everyone's going to enjoy, that is accepted as a feat of cinema making. So yeah, these are our 10 favourite films. We've tried to do it in like ascending order, right? So from worst, not worst, but like least favorite to most favorite, and but it has been difficult. So there are films in here that I could put in, maybe on another they would have put in, and others I wouldn't have put in. But for the sake of this podcast, I've tried. I've just smashed them together.
Mate, you get this. You fire us off, mate. Give us your number 10.
You should be so lucky. I've just discovered, by the way, do not disturb on iPhones. I realise I'm late to the party on that. I normally just when I can't be asked talking to people, I'll put my phone on like airplane mode.
Yeah.
So people just literally can't contact me. But yeah, you can do this now, right? Where you can.
Does your car not like automatically go into aeroplane mode or do not disturb when you get into it? Does it not connect to your car?
I don't think so.
When I put my car into like airplane, it goes into do not disturb, which I think is a pretty good.
How do you know though?
It says.
Oh, it says. I don't know if Elon's figured that part out yet. If there are any Tesla users below, I know most Tesla drivers are like super excited about the fact that they have Teslas. I'm not really that kind of person, so I'm not going to go around talking to people about my car. But if you know if that's the case or not, let us know. Am I starting with number 10 on my list?
Number 10, mate. Yeah. And if anybody agrees or disagrees or enjoys these, just comment below. Let us know. Like,
get involved. That's really the only reason we're doing this. So, number 10 on my list is a film. I'm going to keep the list out because so I sounded professional, like Mark Kermode or something. I put the director and year. So, As Good as It Gets, James L. Brooks, 1997. As Good as It Gets stars Jack Nicholson and Helen Hunt, Greg Kinnear. And it's kind of, the reason I put it on there is one of the things I thought about when I put together my list is I wanted to include something kind of from every genre.
Yeah.
So this is really like my favorite film in every type of genre, if that makes sense. To the best of my ability. So number 10 is As Good as It Gets, and it's kind of like a romantic comedy, rom-com in a way, but it's about a guy called Melvin Udall, I think is his name, and he's a bit of a misanthrope, right? Like he just hates people. And likes being by himself. Don't say anything about him being similar.
That sounds horrendously familiar.
You know what's funny? Lynn's always said, Lynn's and my sister both say it's like an autobiography of my life, which is like, I think that's terrible because as well as that, not only that, he's kind of a bit racist, which I'm not. He's a bit homophobic, which I'm not. But it's about that Jack Nicholson plays this title character, and he's a writer, but he's got like a series of maladies, I think. But he's got ADHD and things which make him a bit mentally off kilter, and it's about how he goes through life and the hijinks which ensue. So he kind of he goes to this diner every day that Helen Hunt is a waitress at. Helen Hunt has a very sick child, but she can't afford healthcare insurance. It's a big thing in America, right?
Yep.
And so she's always incredibly stressed. She tries to go on dates with men and stuff because she's separated, and she finds it hard to juggle that with a job and a sick child. So it doesn't sound like the most light subject matter, but it's given comic relief because it's the way those two characters come together, right? And it's kind of, I don't want to give away the ending. If you've never seen this film, it's one of the films you should watch before you die because it's very funny. Like the performances in it are amazing. It's shot really well, as you'd expect a film to be, and it's a funny film in the very dry sense of the term. Funny, but it's endearing as well. That's as concise as I can get.
What an articulate answer that you've completely taken me back there.
Well, I mean, the English degree does occasionally come in useful. Very
you tell
rarely,
me previously had a movie podcast, can't you, George? I feel like
I didn't contribute much to that.
I've absolutely destroyed that in a second with how articulate you came across there, describing that film, because my list is going to make me look extra stupid now.
Well, people want to come and listen to me anyway, don't worry.
Hey, yo. He's got 2 million subscribers, it says so on the plaque over there.
So it's a great film which goes through some. You go through a series of emotions, but it's above all it's very funny, but in a way which is not expected. I think it gets humor out of areas you would not necessarily expect.
I'll get on my list to watch. I won't see it now. That's not one I've seen. Right, so I'm actually going to do 10 and 9 because they're both similar. Not to ruin
is that allowed?
You will allow it. You'll understand why. But you will allow it.
I pay your wages, bitch.
You will allow it. First on my list.
This is going to be Fast and Furious 6 and 7. You big gimp.
Euro Trip. Did you ever watch that?
That's not even. That's like the sequel to Road Trip.
Yeah. Oh, maybe I'm thinking Road Trip. Shit.
Which one? Well, which one are you thinking of? The one that's in Europe or the one that's not in Europe? The one with Tom Green?
Yeah, I might think. In fact, I'm thinking of Road Trip.
I'm glad I could correct you on your own.
I
list.
don't wait.
Is that the one where his girlfriend breaks up with him or something? And
He has the sex tape and he has to go get the sex tape back.
yeah.
Is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, that's the one I'm thinking of. Road Trip.
Can't we do that right?
Actually, are we going to leave this in? Sorry, I was thinking of Road Trip.
That was the sequel. My reaction was, it's weird to have. There are very few sequels which are actually better than the original film. Terminator 2 being one of the only examples I can think of. But yeah, Road Trip is a great film. Tell me
so
why
it came out. I mean, obviously, it came out in like 2000, and that combined with on ninth place would be American Pie. Both very influential films from a comedy standpoint, like the American style standpoint, and
college films. Yeah,
college films. I mean, I would have been like sort of 10, 12-year-old-ish when they came out, and there are plenty of boobs in them, so that's quite impactful to a young man. As you said, you were playing video games and
touching myself. That's what I said in 5 episodes ago.
So those two are on my list of just the college for like.
You're not going to dissect them like I did, no? You're just going to say they're your favourite films.
Yeah, I mean, people. I think
this might be a fortunately quite short podcast. Then, yeah, I think those. It's odd that you would pick two. I think that similar. I think because like
they're quite like wildly different as far as like characters as well. Do you know what I mean? Like, so obviously everyone knows of American Pie and those stories, and they did. How many did they do it? And they did one last year, didn't they? It's like Granddads.
They did 4.
But don't mention the spin-offs, man.
Spin-off ones.
Forget the direct-to-DVD stuff. I actually have I could have put almost American Pie on my list because it's one of those films that if it's ever on, I'll watch it.
Yeah.
Just because it's pure nostalgia, right? You
Absolutely,
can imagine what it's like being that age, even though we're not American or anything. But like you can imagine what it's like being that age. It brings back a lot. It's got an incredible soundtrack.
I was just about to say the soundtrack as well. Yeah.
What you got like Blink on there, Blink 182, back when they were good. Third Eye Blind. You got James.
Some 41.
Some 41. Yeah.
Did you just say that?
Yeah.
Did we just become best friends? Oh, fucking Step Brothers, man. I should have put that on. Our Step Brothers not on my list.
Is your list going to be entirely comedies?
I don't know.
But yeah, Road Trip is a cool. Tom Green, right?
Yeah.
I guess at the height of, I don't know if you would say height of his power, but height of his popularity, he plays a great part in that because he's really weird. And remember, he's obsessed with feeding the mouse, the snake.
Yeah.
And he's building up to like it's gonna be some amazing thing. And Buck was eating. He's got the snake in his mouth because the mouse in his mouth because the snake doesn't want to eat. But yes, it's a great film. They are very different. But I think if I were to pick two, I would have picked one or the other there, and it would be American Pie. Yeah.
I think American Pie 2 is better than the first. Personally, I think that.
I disagree, George. Nobody cares about your opinion. No, the first one's better than the second. The first one is actually more steeped in morality, I think, because it tells you a lot. Like they're in this pact, right? Because they want to lose their virginity and by any means necessary. And by the end, it's articulating to kids. It's not that important, right? Get over it.
Blink 182 are actually in that one though, aren't they?
They are before. In fact, is that before Travis Barker joined the? It was the year that
he was in.
He's in it.
He's in the film, yeah.
Because is there another guy in that scene who's not part of the band?
There's the guy that's like looking at it's when he's like
on the webcam.
Yeah, on the webcam thing. And he's like, this guy's looking at his laptop. He's like, guys, and they're like jamming and stuff. Come over. And they've got a monkey for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah. The song Mutt plays, which is one of the songs towards the end of the album Enema of the State, right? And that's what's playing when Jason Biggs runs to the house, back to his house, to Stifler's house, whoever's house he's at, to watch the fact he's entrapped this poor woman into being nude on camera, which we're not advocating, by the way, but it makes for a hilarious scene, yeah.
So that's me lowering the tone straight away. Adam, give us your number 9, mate.
You should have put like Debbie Does Dallas on there or something like that. I thought it would be. I'd forgotten. Let me just whip out my list. I've tried to put these in like ascending order, but you're going to get a feeling here for who is the more discerning film lover. Number 9 on my list is, I didn't know whether to put it in, but I did in the end. Big Trouble in Little China. John Carpenter, of course. I've just forgotten the year. Not that relevant, but
Little Trouble in Big China.
Big Trouble in Little China. I've put 1948. I imagine that's a typo. It's 1984. But which is have you never seen this film?
Nah.
My God, you're missing out on so much. I get the feeling like the age gap might be very apparent as well with this. But John Carpenter, obviously famous mostly for like sci-fi and horror style stuff. It's a cult film. This was like a massive flop at the time, box office flop. But it is a film with Kurt Russell.
Yep.
Kim Cattrall's in it. I forget some of the supporting actors and actors. And it's about, it's a really wacky film. It's about a truck driver, Jack Burton, who he's got a mate, and he has a bet. I forget what the bet's about right now, which is weird because I've seen it like 40 times. But he wins a bet against his mate Wang, I think. His mate is actually called Wang.
Wang Chi.
I thought, yeah, Wang. He loses bet against his mate Wang. I've just got Dick in my head now. That's another,
I didn't bring it up.
I know,
I
but
didn't
like
bring Dick up. That guy, I never brought Dick up this time. You brought Dick up.
I would venture to say there is not one episode of this podcast which doesn't have the word Dick, Bell, Wang, Knob, Willie or something in it, right? Anyway, so it's and it starts off right, deeply seated in real life. He's a trucker, wins his bet, and his mate Wang is known for welching on bets apparently. So he follows him to the airport because he's going to make good on his bet. And at the airport, Wang's meeting his girlfriend, who has green eyes. And women of that ethnicity don't normally have green eyes. It tells you she's kidnapped by some goons, and the film is about them trying to rescue her. But it becomes supernatural because the reason she's been kidnapped is the evil dude, David Lopan, who's like an old kind of wizard style sorcerer. I've actually got a t-shirt which I've worn in a few videos which people comment on often with David Lopan's face on it. And yet he needs to sacrifice a girl with green eyes in order to lift this curse on him. And it's tongue in cheek, right? So it sounds wacky, it is wacky, but it's one of those cult hits of like the 80s, which is loved more now than it was when it was released. I think they're talking about remaking it with Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson as Jack Burton. Like, please don't. And if you do, I'll never see it. Not that I'll stop them because I'll probably make.
Why do they feel the need to remake old films? Just moolah.
It's pure money, I think. Same reason they keep making Marvel movies, like everyone hates. Just makes money, isn't it? But it's funny. It's like an action comedy. But the fact that it's kind of seated, especially at that time when the 80s was strewn with action movies, right? Commando, Predator, etc., which are all great films. But this has got the supernatural element. It's based in that kind of something which is culturally very different. If you've never seen it again, you've got to watch it because it's a great film. The effects are great as well for the time. I mean, they're not great like by today's standards, but like at the time it was.
It's like Jaws back in the day when you see a robot and they're in a swimming pool. Yeah. I mean, I'll go on to my number 8 then, I guess, now.
Because you did too.
Yeah, because I bollocksed up the order a little bit. However, and then this isn't like a theme, like we are going to be more serious, but the next one I want to put on my list is Jackass.
Are you for real, man?
Absolutely.
George, he's having my life today. I might just like check out and come back on Friday.
Like they were influential.
So your 10 favourite films, 33% of the list is occupied by fucking... like
college films and
college
Jackass.
comedies. And all right, anyways, I can't. I'm not a judge. I'm not a judge.
Like Jackass, obviously they had the franchise of TV shows where they couldn't be as extreme, and then they got the opportunity to make a feature film.
It's not even a movie.
It's sort of really a movie. No, but it's like my style. It's my thing. Like
it's
I like
a movie
that
in the sense that like a documentary is a movie. It's not really got.
It's of movie length, but it's not a story.
Do you know what I expected as well? You know, because like Josh is a professional. This dude is a professional filmmaker, videographer. I expected like some proper. I thought he'd throw in a couple of like comedies in there because he's a happy-go-lucky bloke. But I thought we'd have some real kind of deconstruction of proper films. I did not think Jackass would be in there.
Well, I'm glad I've impressed you with my list.
You like Jackass? Why? Because it's just people doing daft stuff.
Yeah, but it's not been seen before. Like it's very original.
You know what it's like? It's like if I decide to make a feature film. If I say to you, Josh, we're making a feature film and it's me just eating food, that's not going to make anyone's top 10 list, is it?
Maybe it could. Maybe we could do that.
Maybe. Tell me why you like Jackass anyway.
I've already said it's like it was an original sort of idea where they could be fully like expressive with the stunts. It's never been done before. They're funny, like as characters go. Like they obviously play onto each other's characters. You've got to come on, give us a little bit back here.
If we were talking about favorite, like reality TV shows, maybe you could get away with it. But favorite film?
It was a film.
All right, yeah. Is the film the one I've never seen? Did they do 2 films?
They've done They've done 4 now.
5 or something.
4.
Yeah.
Which is the one where the giant foam hand comes out and smacks them?
That was one of the more recent ones, I think.
I saw a clip of that and that did really make me laugh. And I suppose that if you want to break it down to its bare bones, what films are supposed to do are eliciting some kind of emotion in you. And if it makes you laugh, how is it any less valuable than another comedy?
Yeah, because that
I'll
was
give you that.
number 3, 3D. That was in Jackass 3D, which, yeah.
Do you think it's weird how 3D has just died now? It just becomes popular every 20 years and then every film's in 3D and then it just dies off.
I remember you sat in a cinema watching a 3D film and you get a little spray of water in your face when there's someone's in the ocean or something and you're like...
What cinema were you in? One of those cinemas I got.
Oh, yeah. What were you watching?
I can't remember.
You were one of them 3D
Magic
films where
Mike.
you're milking a cow.
Magic Mike director's cut.
That would be 4D,
American
George.
Pie 3D.
Yeah, but I just think it's weird that it kind of comes around and it dies off. And are we going on to mine?
I guess so. You just shit-canned every single one of mine so far.
I'm really despairing of
Mate,
what else is on your list.
I'll earn my right back towards the end of the list. It gets better, I promise.
Right. Okay. Number 8 on my list is I wanted to get one in there, which is a horror movie, right? And it's a genre which is typically saturated with terrible stuff.
Yeah.
But Bram Stoker's Dracula, Francis Ford Coppola, of course, 1992.
Of course.
How are you a filmmaker? How did you become a filmmaker?
Of course. Bramstone's pickle maker. What's he on about? What is this podcast? This is why you should do your film when we're
Did you say Bramstone's pickle maker?
I don't know what you're on about. You said fucking 3 films. I got a fucking clue what it's on about. I'm nodding I'm trying to pretend like I know what the fuck you're talking about. Branston's pickle maker.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm starting to go back. Do you remember when we the first episode of this and somebody said, I am sorry, Beard, as long as this man is your co-host, I will never watch. I'm starting to see what he's talking about now. So Bram Stoker, it's not even that, it's not an unknown, everyone's going to know this, right? Bram Stoker was an Irish writer, and Dracula was a famous film from the 1990s. Keanu Reeves is in it. Gary Oldman, who I love Gary Oldman. I told you before that his son apparently watches my videos. He once contacted me, Alfie Oldman. He said he was going to show his dad my videos. I'd never got anything back, so I assume either he didn't show him or the reaction was really negative. But yeah, Bram Stoker's Dracula, it's a particular take on the whole Dracula myth, right? And it's, in short, it's about Dracula, right? It paints him as, it's the one that connects him closer with Vlad the Impaler, right? That's his origin story, if you want. And it tells you about how he, at the beginning, it's this really dramatic scene. He renounces God because he's been away at war and somebody has falsely told his wife that he's killed himself, or he's died during battle, so she kills herself. He gets back because he's not died in battle. And he's like, ah! And he does this really mad kind of very visually striking ritual, becomes Dracula, and then it flashes forward in time. You've got Keanu Reeves as Jonathan Harker, right, who is managing his property affairs, right, which doesn't sound that interesting, but it's a really good film, and it's the reason I like it, I think, is because it's so visually striking. It's hard to talk to you about it if you've never fucking seen the thing. I thought you would have seen it, but it's it's directed by a guy that's not really known for having cut his teeth in horror.
Yeah.
So the admirable thing about that film that I like the most is that it didn't rely at a time when CGI was becoming more prominent in films. It didn't make use of any CGI, so he rear projected a lot of scenes and kind of composted. Where you kind of you'd shoot on the slate film, then rewind it and shoot other stuff on top to get the effects. And the costumes are all great and stuff. And Gary Oldman is amazing in it. Gary Oldman's known for ham acting, right? But I mean that in the most positive sense because he's really over the top in it, as you have to be as Dracula. But I can't really chat about it because nobody's seen it. So just watch it. It's a great film. It's really visually striking. It looks amazing. And it's I think I watched that when I was 10, and it's an 18, right? It's quite gory and it's got a lot of kind of, I guess, lascivious content in it. So, but my gran would let me just watch whatever, right? So I think I probably watched it at my gran's house and being terrified when I was a kid, having seen it, right? But it's just a great film.
And for those listeners that fell asleep there, that was...
Fucking hell, you want to talk? I came fucking prepared. You bunch of fucking wazzocks.
Go watch Branston Pickle Makers.
Go on, what's next on your list? Fucking...
Moana. No, mate, I'll go watch that. I'll watch it. Is it black and white?
It's not black and white.
He's given up.
This is going to be one of those that ends up on the cutting room floor, I'll tell you that now.
No, right, I think I can claw you back with this one, I think. So what number are we on? 7?
7.
7, right. So my number 7 is Nightcrawler with Jake Gyllenhaal. Seen it?
Never seen it, mate.
Have you
and
not?
Even if I had seen it, I would pretend like I hadn't seen it. I've not seen it.
Have you not seen it?
Nightcrawler, isn't he from X-Men? He's a dude from X-Men, right? Nightcrawler is the guy from
Is
X-Men.
it? Is that an X-Men character?
Yeah.
All right, so are you a fan of Jake Gyllenhaal?
Yeah, he's all right. I mean, I wouldn't say I'm not like a fan, like I'm a fan of Gary Oldman, for example. Like, I don't love everything he does, but yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal seems all right. Donnie Darko and all that.
Yeah. So Jake Gyllenhaal plays a filmmaker.
Fucking hellfire, you all right over there, George?
He plays a filmmaker in Los Angeles. Well, he's not even a filmmaker. He's a bit of an oddball character, where he figures out that you obviously in the LA scene. In fact, you'll have seen this a lot in America, where when bad things happen, it's always on television. So it's obviously the people that have CCTV footage, and they'll show all the gory details. It's kind of weird. You don't get that in the UK. But that one thing that really stood out for me when I was in America a couple of years ago, especially in Chicago, they were showing like shootings at breakfast telly, like actual shootings, which we don't get in the UK. But yeah, Jake Gyllenhaal plays a guy where he realizes he can make money by filming the bad things that's happened. And obviously there's a crew of people that like try to get, they listen to the police radios and try to get there first. So the story goes as he goes there as like a guerrilla filmmaker, and he's catching all of the bad things, and then he's selling to the TV station. As the movie progresses and you realize how much of a weirdo he is, I probably should give it away as soon as I was talking about the actual films. He then gets involved in manipulating scenes, because he ends up on scenes of crashes or murders or bad things where he's there before the emergency services. So he'll be like killing people or like moving the scene around to make it a better shot, just so that it could then sell that back to the TV stations.
Yeah.
And that's it in a bit of a nutshell. But it's a really good film. Jake Gyllenhaal, I rate him as an actor. Like, I think he's up there. Just for how extreme he can play these characters.
It's proper creepy in that one as well, isn't it?
Yeah, have you seen it?
Yeah.
And can you hear the ice cream van? What's going on? But yeah, that's up there on my number 7, mate. So I
Did you see how enthusiastically, by the way, I paid attention to you telling me?
you were texting your nan. You started texting his nan halfway through.
So, Nan, do you remember that time that you let me watch Bram Stoker's Dracula? Yeah, it's a great film. Yeah, cool. I'll give that a watch. I like Jake Gyllenhaal. I think he's kind of handsome in an ugly sort of way, isn't he?
He's shredded though. Jarhead. Have you seen Jarhead?
Yeah.
I rated that film as well, to be fair. That was a really good film.
Yeah.
Man's got talent. And his sister is an actor as well, isn't she?
Yeah, she was in Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Maggie Gyllenhaal, yeah.
I think, I don't want to say most famous for, but she was in that really weird one with James Spader. Is it James Spader? Obviously, she was in the Dark Knight trilogy as well. Well, she was in the second and third, playing the character that Katie Holmes played in the first.
Yeah.
Anyway, is my turn to go?
Yo, go, mate.
You probably won't, actually. You're a Philistine. But my, what number am I on? 7.
7.
Iron Giant. So this is an animated one coming to the list. Brad Bird, 1999, I think.
I feel like I've seen this one.
And yeah, another one which was actually at the time considered a financial failure, but I think it's one of the best, certainly one of, if not the best animated film ever made. I think there are others that could go into that list, but it's not Disney, so like you kind of drawn to it a little bit more because it's I don't say it's independent, but it's not part of like a massive tradition of people that make tons of animated movies. But it's based on Ted Hughes, former poet laureate. I'll stop. He was a poet, an British bloke that wrote like rhymes, you know.
Are you all right, mate?
I'm all right.
Do we need to have a chat? Do we need to like cut the tape for a second?
And he wrote The Iron Man, right? That's what it's based on. Which, interestingly enough, if anyone is interested to hear, he wrote to help his kids deal with the suicide of his wife, Sylvia Plath. Anyway,
that's quite nice.
Yeah, but the film, the animation for the time is fucking amazing. Right, it's drawn in a really unique way as well. You know, if you watch a Disney movie, you know, especially when it's hand drawn, you knew it was Disney, right? And it looks great. The voice cast is great in it as well, and the story is like very interesting because it's actually about it's like an anti-war thing, because this Iron Giant falls to Earth, right, and he's naturally built killer machine, right, so it's a weaponized robot, and he meets Hogarth, who's the protagonist kid, who like teaches him right from wrong, and I think it's probably the only It's one of the only films that I think, like animated film, that can like elicit some emotion. I think. Not that I want to get too deep about it, but it's a really sad. The end. Well, it's sad, but I won't give away the ending. But I watch it like at least once a year.
Can you give away the ending? I mean, obviously, like Jordan and I don't know, so
I've ruined it for you though. I kind of want you to see it. Like, I'll see the robot the robot dies at the end. But like, which has ruined it, right? But like, the script is for an animated film as well. It's such a great film that you have to watch it to know how good it is. And a lot of people, I think, that have seen it will know how good it is. This fucking ice cream van, is he doing laps? You must know I'm in here. He's like, if I play this tune long enough, he's gonna come down and get out of the entire truck.
He'll come down and do a video.
Straight my takeaways, new van.
He's come to sabotage our podcast.
What does Santa want for a takeaway? Yeah, so Iron Giant's in there. Watch it's like a Christmas tradition in my house. Lindsay and I will watch that on like Christmas Eve.
Does Mrs. Beard entertain films that you enjoy? Like, we'll watch them together? Because often when I suggest any films in our house, Danielle's just like,
yeah, Lindsay, she's really open to it. She has about like your level of appreciation of films, though, and she likes Fast and Furious because there are fast cars in it, you know. So she's not like really an irritating aficionado of film like me.
All right, so let's go on to number 5 then on the list.
6.
Sorry, number 6 on the list. Thanks, George. That's why you get the big bucks.
Out of count now.
Yeah.
Mate, it's been a long old day. Right, Law Abiding Citizen.
It's a good film. They make a sequel to that, aren't they? I read last week.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know how it's going to work, but
I literally only just watched that film for the first time like 2 weeks ago.
Oh, what do you think? Tell us what you thought then. So,
thought it was great. Really good film. Yeah.
As Adam would
George
say,
painting a picture for us there.
painted a real picture for us there, George.
I feel like I was there.
Like,
it's a great film. So Tell me why you like it.
Just very it's the story of him as far as like the depth that he's gone to prove the system wrong for how bad he had it, and the foresight of this planning to cause that much destruction and devastation, I think is amazing. So the story goes, he is just a working class guy, where his family, so his wife and child, are murdered in front of him, and then the guys that did it basically go to prison for a little bit, but then they get off on some sort of technicality. He watches it all unfold and strategizes a plan for redemption for his family. And I mean, we can give away the story. It's been around for a long time, but he finds the culprit who murdered his family, and he tortures him in a basement, and then he accepts going to prison because he's already planned of what would happen if he goes to prison. So then he goes into prison. He speaks to the judges. He almost gets off actually for the murder of this guy.
That's the best scene in the film.
So he's in court and he's basically...
Are you fucking serious?
Yeah.
Jerry Butler doing his...
Come on, give us your impression. Let's go.
No, because you can't do... Gerard Butler... They should just make him Scottish in movies. Like, I hate when they make... Why do they have to make him American? Because some people just can't... He's not the worst culprit for it. Have you ever heard Ray Winstone in The Departed? Fucking hell, just make him a Cockney. Like, he just can't do it. And that's all right. It's all right to just not be able to do an American accent, right? It must be hard. I couldn't do a Welsh accent. But Jerry, they call him Jerry Butler, don't they, in the industry? I'm talking like I know the guy. Me and Jerry. But yeah, because he's going to get off, isn't he? And
he's about to get off. Yeah.
He say that's? I might be misremembering it, but he goes like, "Are you serious?
Yeah.
Are you serious? Are you serious right now? Just fucking killed a guy." But yeah, that's the best part of the film, I think.
Yeah. So he goes to prison, and then whilst he's in prison, another really impactful scene is he wants to just cause as much chaos and as much mayhem as possible. And you can sort of relate to him because he's like lost everything in his life. So he's like, fuck it, let's watch the world burn. And he goes into general population and he gets given a meal. So this scene in particular where he gets given a meal, he specifically asks for a T-bone steak, like these certain cut of fries from this certain restaurant. And he does it on purpose because then the reason that they will give it to him is because he's going to offer up information as to everything that's gone on. So he and he asks for specifically wants his Bose music player. So outside, they give him his T-bone steak, they give him his chips and all that, and he sits there in his cell, and he's allowed to play his iPod and play this fucking rock track. I don't know what track it is. Do you know?
I don't know. I can't remember.
It's like heavy metal rock track, and he blares it out. And obviously, all other inmates are going fucking wild, screaming and shouting. And his inmate that he's sharing a room with demands. He's like, "You better be fucking sharing that with me." And he's like, "Oh yeah, of course." So he breaks off a bit of this meat. He bites a bit off, and he breaks off a bit off, and hands it to this fucking yobbo in his cell with him. Cranks up the music, and then takes the T-bone steak and puts it between his knuckles and just jams it into his neck and kills him. But it's a brutal scene. Horrendously violent, but very impactful. And then the film goes on, and they're basically trying to work against each other to figure out, is it him that's causing all this destruction, or is it someone else, and has he got information? Go watch it. That probably arguably could go quite high up on my list, but I put it in sixth.
You got there in the end, didn't you, George? That was some like a reasonable review of the film. Yeah, you didn't actually mention Jamie Foxx by name, but yeah, he's the supporting actor, right? And it's about him trying to get the most satisfying part is he gets the one up on this smug lawyer, right? Who thinks Jamie Foxx is a great actor as well. You know, I think he's well underrated. I think.
Yeah, he's one of those people that it's amazing at how talented he is at so many things. You know, like singing, dancing, acting. You know, like as an artist.
Did he sing for the Ray Charles movie?
Yeah. And have you heard his impressions? When he does impressions of like Ray Charles, or he does impressions of Mike Tyson, he's like,
I've heard the Tyson one. Yeah,
he's perfect. His mannerisms.
Brave man to be impersonated, taking the piss out of Tyson. I tell you.
Yeah. Law-abiding citizen.
How long been gone so far, George? Just to check.
Half an hour.
Oh, about right then, aren't we? For halfway. Right, number 6 on my list. I kind of didn't want to put it in there because it's so obvious, but Rocky, it's not on your list? No, because it's a good film, I imagine. Yeah, Rocky, Rocky 1, right? Boxing movie, right? And see, people look at it, I think it often gets, it's critically acclaimed. Most people love Rocky, right? But I think it gets a lot of grief because the boxing isn't very realistic. You know, if you watch Rocky's 1 through it was actually the most realistic, funnily enough, in the last one, Rocky Balboa, right? Rocky 6. Because it's sort of just slugging, you know, bashing each other across the ring, and the other guy, but that's not how boxing is, right? But it's not really a boxing movie, you know. Rocky's about like a rags to riches dude at the end of his line. And when you hear about how it was made, you know, like Stallone was an actor, wasn't he? He worked in a couple of dodgy films. You probably watched him on the ship when you're at sea, you know, those adult movies, a bit of erotica. And he wrote the script for it, right? And then he actually, by some miracle, he probably would have made good money from selling that to the studio, but he would only sell it to the studio on the proviso that he played Rocky. Wow. So a guy that's barely got any acting credits. And I don't know how it played out, but eventually they said yeah. So he stuck to his guns, and now look, he's like, everyone knows Stallone now, right? He was in a bunch of movies after that. But Rocky, I just love Rocky because it's gritty. It's filmed really, obviously it's in Philadelphia. The way it's filmed is in that old school sense, really, I don't know, it's got a certain aesthetic look to it, which is nice. Not nice, but it just looks cool. And the cast is great. They're all kind of pretty, well, don't say unknown, but like, you know, they're all fairly, you've got like Talia Shire, who plays Adrian, and Burt Young, who plays Paulie, like the drunk alcoholic brother. And it's not really about like the fact that it's about, what I love about it is, like a lot of sports films, he doesn't win. You'd never get that. If that movie was made now, it would win he wins in number 2, all right, which is equally a good film. Not equally as good, but it's a good film. But he just goes toe to toe, isn't it? It's about a dude that's like, he doesn't have anything. He's poor. He's living like what looks like on the poverty line. He's a guy that's not really had a great start in life. You get the feeling he's not well educated, but he knows well enough that like people are taking the piss out of him for being thick or whatever. And it's about him saying, look, I count, you know what I mean? And he goes toe to toe with the champ, who's saying he's going to, you know, Carl Weathers, who's amazing in this. And it's just one of those films that you watch it and you know that you've watched an amazing story unfold. And to say that was a script that he wrote, obviously I'm sure it took some finesse from the studio, but it's just an amazing film, start to finish for me. And the soundtrack's great as well. How many
Rocky films are there? And there's 6. Sorry.
6. I think then there's the 2 Creed movies, right, which are part of the same universe.
I've not seen all the Rocky films. I've seen the first one. I've not seen the second one.
They just got progressively. Well, I don't think
that was going to be my question. Did they go too far by going to 5?
Oh yeah, for sure. Like 5 is awful. I can't watch 5 for the life of me. Like, one is good. great. 2 is, I think, great as well. 3, I've kind of got a soft spot for it because you consider it almost, it's a bit like Lord of the Rings. You consider it one big story, you know what I mean? And 4 is great because the soundtrack's amazing. Obviously got Ivan Drago. Yeah. So they're all like enjoyable to some extent, but I would only say the first 2 can be considered proper greats. After that, it's a bit...
Which one's got Hulk Hogan in it?
That's the third one. Thunderlips. Because they have the exhibition wrestling match at the start. But yeah, and Mr. T, of course, as Clubber Lang. But yes, that's a great film. It's one of those films that kids should watch, I think, because it's supposed to teach you a little bit about like life beating you down to your knees, right, and about how you just stick at it. Which you say what you like about that, but I think it's a good message to give kids, not to beat people to a pulp for a living, but figuratively,
the reality of life.
Yeah.
All right, so we're going to now move on to quickly before we finish our list off. Breaking Beard.
Oh, is that coming back this week?
Breaking Beard. So Josh is one question away from, if he gets the wrong answer, he will have to eat the habanero pepper or the scorpion. It's his choice. But let's see if he gets this one right. So first question for Adam is, which planet is the hottest in our solar system? Venus, Saturn, or Jupiter?
I would say balanced probability. It's got to be Venus.
Final answer?
Yeah.
That is correct.
Close to the sun, isn't it? Unless there was some kind of mad like nuclear reaction going on Jupiter.
Course,
Close to the sun.
Of course.
I forgot I'm supposed to pretend like I'm dumber than I actually am on this podcast.
Okay, so question for Josh. When Michael Jordan played for the Chicago Bulls, how many championships did he win? 5, 6, or 7?
That is really hard. I don't know anything about basketball, but that is a tough question.
If you've seen The Last Dance,
I have seen The Last Dance. But
It's on your favourite films list.
it's not on my favourite films list. I can't remember. Like, I want to say 5.
I'm not that want to influence your answer, right? But I see you've got a highball, haven't you? Michael Jordan, greatest basketball player. If you're uncertain, and look, I'm not saying that. I know what I would guess, but
I can't remember how many he did on the. I've watched the film as well, and I just can't.
The sad thing is we don't actually have the scorpion yet, or I'd make it. You've got a brief respite. If you do get it wrong, you don't immediately have to eat the scorpion or the pepper, whichever you're choosing. I can't wait to see this, I tell you. I hope it goes with the pepper, personally. But like equally, I don't imagine.
I want the scorpion.
You want the scorpion?
Fuck.
My gut's saying 6. I don't know why I'm thinking 6 though.
You know what they say about your gut?
Trust it.
I don't want to trust my gut. This is fucking awful. People are like, just answer the question. You don't have to eat a scorpion. I'm gonna say 5. Final answer.
Final answer.
6. Final answer.
Definitely.
I don't know. I'm fucking
6.
panicking.
Final answer.
This is awful.
You're trying to read George, aren't you?
Yeah. George, blink once for 6.
I'm watching you, George.
So you're going for 6. Locked it in.
5.
Final answer.
Yeah, final answer.
It's 6, mate.
I could tell George was trying to help you there. I'm staring at George like, don't you fucking dare give me clues. Oh, are you gonna mull it over? Keep the people guessing what you're gonna actually choose between the? Because I'll watch either. I'm gonna go out and I'm gonna get the thing. So make sure you're not fucking around and buying like a gummy scorpion or something. You mull it over. You lost way quicker than I thought you would.
I lost dramatically. Like,
you might really, really upset by it as well. Never heard you shout that loud.
I'm fucking gutted.
You peaked the mic levels there. I think that's trashed.
Do you know what I'm gonna do?
What?
I cannot eat a fucking pepper, so I'm gonna have to eat a scorpion.
You can do it with the scorpion. I'll start researching, George. We'll see what we get. None of those tiny little things. We're talking a big. Well, I don't mean like a fully grown motherfucker. Like, I don't want it to be like tiny. It's
got to be like that.
Not the kind you get in lollipops. We're talking talking like those that come. I know where you get them in the can and they come and they're wet and they're not fucking dried up and shit. That's the kind you get. You can dip it in a bit of ketchup if you want. I'll let you do that.
So you might like this one. A Scorsese film, Shutter Island.
Nice, great film. Tell me why you like it.
I think it's so well made. Obviously, it is Leonardo DiCaprio that plays the lead role in that film.
Do you think Leo's like underrated as an actor? I feel like nobody really people like DiCaprio, right? But I feel like nobody ever mentions him in the same breath as other actors when it comes to best actors ever. And I don't think I've ever seen DiCaprio not be amazing in a film.
Well, yeah, possibly. I hold him in like the highest regard. Like you'll notice as well as we go through this list, he pops up a couple of times. And that film in particular, what I really like is films that lead you down the garden path and then either U-turn or keep you guessing. This is one of those films, where he's basically plays somebody's escaped the asylum, as it were, on the island, and he's trying to figure out like what's happened. Long story short, it gets to the end and they realise that this whole...
Should we be giving away spoilers, you reckon? Or like, do we have to...
Just give a warning.
This isn't a spoiler alert. This is an old film.
I was just saying genuinely, I don't know if people want to... No, go ahead.
Could you... In fact, I think you could probably articulate the film better than...
It's your film,
No,
man.
Go on, please. You explain to people. This is your world.
Lazy bastard.
It's your film.
You were almost there. Ostensibly, the story is he's a private eye or some kind of detective. I forget exactly. It's ages since I've seen it. And he goes on a boat out to Shutter Island, and there's an escaped patient from this island, amongst a series of other mysteries that he's got to solve. He has Mark Ruffalo as his man in Second Man, right? And they're trying to solve the mysteries of Shutter Island, as it were. And there's a curveball in the end. Am I saying it or what?
Yeah, spoiler alert.
Yeah, spoiler alert. It transpires that he's a patient on this island, and he's mad as a box of frogs. And that's the curveball. We've ruined the film for you now. But you're right. It's a great. I mean, Ben Kingsley's in that film as well, I think. And
that's right. Yeah.
It looks nice. It's a really clever script. It's one of those films that what Lindsay's really good at. If there's a film with like a twist in it, so like something like M. Night Shyamalan, where there's always a twist, like there's something that you don't expect.
Yeah.
I don't know how she does it.
Clocks it.
Will always suss it. And with that, I didn't know. I don't know if you knew that that was the thing.
No.
But she said out loud as well. She's like, he's a patient. And I'm like, fuck it, shut up. And then it comes to it, right? And he's a patient on the island. But yeah, that's a great film.
There you go then. That's my number 5.
I've totally forgotten what my number 5 was. I don't. This one, again, this is not one that would be on anyone's greatest list of films ever made. But I've got to put it in there because I'm a big fan of the book. V for Vendetta, which is... Who the fuck directed it? I don't even know who directed it. I was going to say a second. It probably came out, was it about 2005? Yeah, 2005. James McTeague directed it. And I think the Wachowskis were involved. They did something with The Matrix. They were some part of The Matrix, which explains all the V for Vendetta, the story, the graphic novel by Alan Moore, it's not like an action... There are acts of violence in it, but it's not like an action movie. But I guess to package it for a present day audience, they want a bit more focus on the violence. So there's a lot of like slow-mo bullet time scenes, bullet dodging and knives flying around and whatnot. But basically, it's a story of it's in a totalitarian future dystopia in England, right, ruled by a far right-wing political party. It's curfews, it's corruption. Brutalization of the population of the country and curfews and all this mad stuff, and it's about a guy. I'm reluctant to say hero, but an anti-hero, I guess, who wears a Guy Fawkes mask, and of course he uses the mythology of the history of Guy Fawkes, who try to famously blow up the House of Parliament to enact what do you call it? Civil unrest, and he wants to topple the government, right? As one man, and it's just an ideologically very interesting film. Again, a bit like 1984 that was talked about on whenever that episode was. Somebody asked me about what my favourite book is. Becomes more relevant with each passing day, I think. And
it's funny you say that because I saw my brother-in-law a couple of weeks last week, and he brought that up. And again, I've not seen the film, and he's like, "You need to watch this film." He's like, "It's so relevant to today. You need to watch it." I'm like,
I'd say you should read the book, the graphic novel, but I think you're too much of a jock to read a graphic novel. So I don't think you're gonna do that. But
you make your mind up.
It's a great. I know that famously Alan Moore, the guy that wrote the graphic novel, right, famously is against adaptation of his work, right, but it's owned by is it DC? I think, or I don't know who it was at the time, right? But he's always like, no, it can't be adapted. But it's a good story, and the fact that it's brought to life in cinema, I think that's, to me, that's only a good thing, especially if it's well done. And Hugo Weaving, who is probably most famous for playing Agent Smith in The Matrix. I know I just mentioned The Matrix, but the bad guy in The Matrix. Yeah. But he's an amazing actor, and he's so fucking class as V. Because V's like he's like your old-fashioned, vaudevillian style. He's like a proper academic, right? He's well read, and when he's introduced at the beginning, he saves Natalie Portman's character, Evie Hammond, from these corrupt fingermen, they call them, who are like secret police, and they're about to rape her, it's implied. Oh, so he comes along and doesn't rape them. He rapes them in vengeance. No, he saves her from them, right? But he does this big speech where he's, because his name is V for Vendetta, right? Yeah. That's all the character of V. He just spits a rhyme, an old-fashioned rhyme with words starting in V, and it's just, if you're into literature like I am, it's cool, and he does it really well. But yeah, it's a British-made film, right? So a lot of the cast are British, apart from Natalie Portman. There's Stephen Rea in there, who was it The Crying Game that made him famous, right? But it's just, this cast are great, and there'll be a lot of faces you recognise from a lot of TV work and whatnot. But it's like action-packed to the extent that if you want to watch it on that level, you'll like it. But it's basically about politics and how nationalism is bad.
That is definitely on my list. I am actually. That's the second time, obviously, somebody's mentioned it to me very recently. So I'll actually watch that tonight. I will feed back to you.
You will. I know you'll like it as well.
Bring it on. Right. So next up for me is number 4 on my list. Tarantino, Pulp Fiction.
Yeah, I can get behind that. Yeah, it's a class film. Yeah.
Obviously. Do you know that he's going to stop at 10 films? So once, I think we've got 1 film left from him. Is that right?
I heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, which I think is there's something
admirable in doing that.
Yeah, honourable in that. Pulp Fiction, I mean, there's so many storylines going on at once. One scene in particular that jumps out to me, which was again, I think it's one of the ones where where I just don't see it coming, or it's just a complete shocker. So when they're in the car, the hitmen are in the car. Long story short, they shoot this guy's head off in the car. Accidentally shoot this guy's head off. And for me, that was just because I didn't see it coming. And it was so shocking that I laughed my ass off, because it was just it's just brilliant.
Yeah, it's weird that I think Tarantino is very good at making the absurd and things that shouldn't be funny, right? Yeah. Because it's a guy getting his head blown off. It's not funny, right? By two hitmen, basically, right? Mobsters. But yeah, it's the absurdity of it, and the fact that they've then got to clean it up, and they're worried about the mess. And I think it's one of the first times I think in cinema you see these bad guys who aren't just bad guys. You're supposed to, because you end up liking John Travolta, don't you? When he's doing the dance, drinking the $5 milkshake and whatnot. And it's one of those films that people always talk about Tarantino films for the violence in them, but they don't talk about enough just the dialogue and how the script writing is amazing. Yeah. And that scene, for me, the best scene is the burger scene. Yeah. That's a tasty burger. And then he reads out that bit of fucking creed or whatever from the Bible before he blasts him in half or whatever. But yeah, cast's amazing, acting's amazing, script's amazing. Totally agree.
There we go. We're getting somewhere now. We started off pretty weak, but we're building up strength.
Yeah.
On to yours, Mr. Beard.
We're on number 4 now?
Yeah.
Number 4, this might, I don't know if it's going to catch anyone by surprise. Probably nobody's seen it here. Scott Pilgrim versus the World. Which I think is where my love affair with Edgar Wright started. We talked about Edgar Wright before, the director. Scott Pilgrim is who's the dude that fucking wrote the comic? Brian Lee O'Malley, I think maybe. It's like an independent indie comic. I think he's a Canadian comic writer. But basically, Scott Pilgrim's like your perennial nerd, right? He's a bit of an underdog. He's into indie music, and there are a lot of pop culture references in the film, but it's about this larger-than-life story where he just lives in this quiet little town. I think it's in Canada somewhere. And he comes across this girl, Ramona. I mean, this comic strip's been going ages, so there's probably a bunch of different story arcs. But in this one, he meets Ramona Flowers, who's like the girl of his dreams, right? But in order to date her, he has to defeat her 7 evil exes in battle, right? And it's kind of... The comic book and the film is... A lot of the things that Scott Pilgrim's into, like music and video games and whatnot, are kind of mashed into it. So you have this. It's not meant to be taken seriously, by the way, right? It's kind of like a comedy, comic book movie action thing. But he's in it. I think that's what made Michael Cera for me. That film. If people know Michael Cera, the actor, Because I think he's probably the shelf life of his career is quite short because he's always just playing teens that don't really know what they're doing. And he's probably like 40 now. He's probably my age anyway. But yeah, and it uses like Edgar Wright. We talked about it before. He's really good with physical comedy in the camera stuff, like these mad quick transitions which make it very comic book like and very video game like. And he'll have fights with people which are physical fights, but there's kind of like this bombastic involvement of music, like you'll be having like a bass battle with somebody. You know, if you've not seen it, Joe, have you seen it?
I've seen it.
Yeah.
My favourite bit in that is when his roommate answers the door and it's his like girlfriend from before that's not Ramona
That he doesn't want to be with.
and he don't want to see her. So he opens the door wide and you can see him. He's like, "Oh shit!" He jumps out the way.
He flies out
and
the
then he
window.
closes the door and just fucking jumps out the window.
Is Scott here?
You know what? He just left.
Yeah, it is because it's Macaulay Culkin's brother, right? Is it Kieran Culkin?
Yeah.
That plays his roommate.
Yeah.
And it's such a hilarious film. It's one of those films that like Lindsay and I just, it's like she doesn't get it.
Yeah.
Right? But I don't know, maybe it's me. But the way it's like delivered, the acting, it's amazing. The script's amazing.
I think it is a bit of a Marmite film, innit?
Yeah, I get that a lot of people probably wouldn't. I don't think you would like it. Maybe you would, I don't know. But yeah, it's just the way it's shot is so you can just see the Edgar Wright in it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Everything he did after that was very much like that.
I think you would like it because it's like almost YouTube-y.
Yeah,
little bit in a way.
A lot of like YouTube was influenced by everyone. Obviously loved Edgar Wright, and that's you can see that now in a lot of YouTube stuff. So, but that's no bad thing, you know. He's a fucking genius, that dude.
All right, so the next one we're hitting
Soundtrack's amazing as well.
we're hitting the top spots now. So I'm going to read out the cast of this one and let you tell me which film it is.
All right,
So
okay.
we'll start off with Gary Oldman.
Gary Oldman's in it.
Yep.
All right.
Maggie Gyllenhaal.
Dark Knight.
Dark Knight.
I was going to maybe add to it but that is the second one, yeah.
Yeah. Michael Caine, Heath Ledger, Christian Bale.
That is a movie, that man. I remember being blown away by that.
Yeah.
It's very rare that I don't go to the cinema anymore, but I saw that cinema and left thinking like, whatever, 12 quid was well worth it.
Masterpiece.
It's often not the case, but yes.
And I think there's something that's almost like sadly romantic about it, I guess, with Heath Ledger following that film. Like that was one of the final gigs, wasn't it?
Unreal, that performance as Joker. No,
Yeah.
but like, can you imagine? I remember when they did the atrocity Suicide Squad,
Yeah.
and they cast was it that one where they cast Jared Leto as Joker? I
Yeah.
thought, man, that's a poison chalice. Who wants that job after Heath? Like, you'd just be thinking, I can't do it better than that.
Joaquin Phoenix did a really good job though in the standalone one. Thought that was a good film.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, that was a different.
But it's so drastically different.
It was easier to do because that was more situated in the real world, wasn't it? I think maybe. But equally, you wouldn't want to do it. But yeah, I mean, Heath Ledger's amazing in that. I'm a massive fan of Christian Bale as well.
Yeah.
I think he's just. There aren't many films he's done that I haven't been blown away by.
You're right.
Always,
yeah.
He's a bit like Daniel Day-Lewis I mentioned a few weeks ago. In that, like everything he's in, he was amazing in. I mean, Terminator Salvation was a bit wank, but like he was good in it.
And I guess
In that way, that clip came out where he was like shouting at some producers or something.
Yeah, and he got a lot of heat for that, didn't he? But if you think about that, in the heat of the moment, when you maybe been shooting 12 hours in a day and you're doing a scene which you want that perfect take. If somebody has been, I'm not saying it's ever right to be cruel or mean to people or rude, but there are times we're all fallible, aren't we? And I remember like him getting like tons of abuse for that. And I think he apologized, didn't he, publicly?
Yeah.
And people still went on about it. And
you've got to imagine like these actors, you know, like how especially him, like if, whatever role you've put him in, whatever you put him in, like he's so dramatically, like his body shape, obviously he put so much effort into designing and building that character both mentally and physically, to then step on set and want to give the performance, like I fuck knows what he gets paid, but like the money's well spent because he's going to give you 150% in it.
imagine like how it would be like if say we're shooting a video, right? And something like say you're doing a video, you're like, this is crisp, right? This is great. And then like somebody closes the blinds and everything's underexposed. Yeah, it'd be the same as that, wouldn't you? You'd lose your, and it's never, I think he went off on the guy a bit, didn't he? You'd be like, oh, come on, mate. Like if that was me, but I don't know what he went through that day. You don't know what he's going through in his life.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I mean, the funny thing about that as well is I don't know when The Machinist was. The Machinist's a film that not many people have seen.
Before the first Batman.
So about a year or something.
Something like that.
In the he plays he got down to I want to say like 8 stone or something. He's fully emaciated, right?
Yeah.
And then he got to the shape of Batman Begins where he's in like, don't get me wrong, can I say it? They're all on drugs, right? When they do those massive transformations, but like that's not taken away from the hard work though, because like the change his body goes through, because he's in top nick in like Batman Begins.
He had to actually lose weight because he couldn't get into the suit.
Yeah, they called him Fat Man, right?
Yeah.
The directors called him Fat Man, apparently. But yeah, that takes some doing that to go through that. Imagine that, like,
No.
and imagine when you get to that point, if you get to the shape where like you're in, you know, like Tom Hardy or something, like in Bane, where he's like fully meated. Can you imagine then just thinking, fuck it, I don't want to train anymore? You'd be like, nah, I want to stay like this. But then if you've got to go do another role, which means you can't be as physically imposing.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
That's another thing that actors got to deal with, which I think must be quite hard. But
Why it's just wild, isn't it? I think, like, yeah. I mean, like you said before, you struggle to pick a film that he's bad in, like, or that you wouldn't rate him in. Like, he's such a good, well-rounded actor.
I haven't seen that Ford, probably because I'm not into cars, but I didn't see that Ford versus Ferrari thing.
I haven't seen that.
I thought it was good, but I just didn't want to appeal to me. But yeah, Christian Bale's amazing and everything.
So what's your number 3?
All right, cracking the whip over there, boss. This is you're getting a kind of a vibe for what I probably shouldn't have put this one in there because it's similar in nature, I suppose, to Scott Pilgrim. Sin City, Robert Rodriguez, 2000. I don't know, might be 5 again, but that was anyone. Have you seen that?
Yeah, I've seen Sin City.
Yeah, so I think I love the books, right? The Frank Miller comic books or the graphic novels, because it's like hard-boiled, like neo-noir stuff, which is just fancy words. Like, you know, those old crime dramas of like the 1930s when it's black and white and everything's super serious and they're doing these internal monologues where they're talking to themselves all the time and you can hear what they're saying to themselves. And so you get that kind of Frank Miller style of writing, and it's brought to life in this. I mean, I don't know how the fuck they shot that, because it's all like, none of it's really shot with real sets. It's all, if you remember, it's all black and white, and there's certain bits of color, like if somebody gets smacked in the face, they bleed, you'll get a bit of red and stuff. But I remember it being so different aesthetically at the time, being like, whoa, this is amazing. And that kind of coupled with how the comics, how cool I thought the stories were in the comics, because it's based in a place called, well, they call it Sin City. It's based in City, right? And it's supposed to be this like town of debauchery and crime and everything, and it follows these people who aren't good or bad, right? They're just people. Like, you follow Marv, who's like, it's implied he's killed lots of people, but you like him because of his like sharp wit and whatnot. So you kind of drawn towards these characters and what they do, but none of them are good people. And I like that kind of. It's literally grey because it's black and white, but like the characters are a bit grey as well. So if you've not seen that, go watch it instead of watching like any of the new Marvel films, because it's better.
All right, so on my list for number 2 is, drumroll, Goodfellas.
I was going to actually do a drum roll.
Drum roll, man, said it.
Goodfellas, yeah.
I don't quite understand it.
Yeah, it's a great film, yeah.
Yeah, it's just an all-rounder, like one of those films. And I think I actually watched that for the first time relatively recently. You know, like, obviously it's an older film. But yeah, just that again, just blown away by it. The cast, the lineup, everything about that film, just incredible. I like that. That almost hit the top spot for me.
Interesting that you put that one in, not say Godfather. I know they're not the same film, but
yeah, I think it's. I mean, I think The Godfather's a lot more. I mean, that's considered the best film. I think the best film of all time, right?
it's usually either that or it's either that, depending on what time you check, like IMDb. It's that, Citizen Kane, or one that's actually next on my list. So if you finish it, it could look like we knew what we were doing.
All right, yeah, go on.
So the next one on my list is Shawshank Redemption. Is that on your list?
No. It isn't. No. But that is again considered like one of the top films of all time, isn't it?
I thought that might be one where we maybe crossed over. This is the one that, like, you know, I said this is not our list of objectively the best films of all time, but I think this is probably the best film of all time. Shawshank Redemption. It's don't know when it came out. 99 maybe. No, that's too late. 95. Frank Darabont directed it. I know that.
1994.
Wasn't far away. Based on, a lot of people don't know it's based on a Stephen King book. Rita Hayworth and the Shawshank Redemption, or like a short story. But basically, in short, it's the story of Andy Dufresne, played by Tim Robbins, who he's wrongfully in prison. They think he's like killed his wife, who was having an affair with a tennis coach or something, or Pilates instructor, or some shit like that. At Shawshank Redemption, which is a prison or corrective facility, whatever you want to call it, and it follows his interaction with, as an innocent man going in there, to the environment of a prison, which back in, I don't know what it's set actually, but like it's not a pleasant place basically. But he meets all these characters, fellow inmates, makes friends with some of them as you would. And spoiler alert: if you haven't seen it, go see it. Stop listening to this podcast immediately. It's more important to see this film. Right, and then the spoiler is that in the end he gets out, he escapes from Shawshank Redemption, right? But that's not what makes the film good. What makes the film good is, again, a little bit. What fascinates me by cinema is like when stereotypes and like archetypes are like they're not used. There are no good guys and bad guys, right? These inmates have all done variously bad things, right? To one degree or another, and it's about you. It's in the title, right? Shawshank Redemption. It's about how people, the judicial system, right, is based on the fact that people are supposed to pay their time, and they've done it. Doesn't make what they've done right. If you killed somebody, you still killed somebody, right? But if you've done your time because you accidentally killed somebody in a bar fight or whatever, you've done it, right? And it's trying to make you feel sympathy, I think, for people who've done bad things. And Morgan Freeman's amazing in this film, plays Red. He's killed somebody, right? He's killed a guy as a young kid. And he does a big speech when he's talking to the parole board at the end, where he says he wants to take it back, but he can't. And it's like, I think it's a good study of humanity. And if you're one of those people that goes around sledging people, making out you're better than people, that you've never done anything wrong in your life, go watch this film, and that'll show you a little bit about perspective, I think. But it's amazingly acted, scripting's amazing, shot great, cast's really good, even though it's not really full A-listers apart from maybe Morgan Freeman. But yeah, I think it's a film that everyone should see.
I can definitely second that.
He has to tunnel through shit at the end as well. He digs through the wall with a spoon.
As you would.
That again, that's part of the spoiler bit. So if you skipped ahead and you still hit it, I'm sorry.
Right. Like, so this is the number one spot for me, mate. Again, we'll play a little. I'm not gonna say it out loud. I want to give you the cast.
All right. I like this. We should have done it this way.
Yeah, I think so. Cillian Murphy.
Cillian Murphy.
Is it Cillian Murphy?
Yes, Cillian Murphy would be good if he was like in a
Dark Knight Rises. He's not any.
He's not going to be, is it?
Tom Hardy.
It's Peaky Blinders or something.
So it is Dark Knight Rises. No.
Joseph Gordon-Levitt.
Oh, it's Inception.
Yeah, that is a great film.
Inception is my.
It's mad that I could have until like the end. In fact, no, even at the end, that could have been Dark Knight Rises because he's in that, isn't he?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
He plays Robin, right?
Yeah.
Fucking hell! You could have thrown me a merry dance there.
I was leading you down the garden path, but yeah, Inception, my all-time favorite film, and you know, it's about the technology of dreams, planting ideas and dreams within dreams, which is so like it's so difficult to comprehend. Like my missus just can't. She hates the film because I don't know if she's not interested or she can't follow it.
Yeah.
Probably a bit of both. But you've got to you kind of got to watch it a few times to even sort of suss out what's going on. Even then, you can still sort of struggle. And you know, they're planting ideas, dreams within dreams, and the way that it's shot, and like again now as a we make films or we make videos to see how they actually achieve that. Incredible. And again, they lead you down that DiCaprio lead you down that garden path, and at the end, you know, you hear about all his trials and tribulations and the spin that
it's a genius that way to end it.
Yeah. What do you call that? The little
it's just a spinning top. They call it a totem, which is basically supposed to tell you if you have this thing, only you know that is real. Nobody can fabricate that. Yeah. But I had a lot of trouble watching it, I think, the first time in the cinema because I was like, I expect them to tell you a bit more about how they plant dreams in people's head. It's just like they dive straight into it. And it's almost like, you know, they do the dream in a dream part.
Yeah.
I feel like that's something you would leave for a potential sequel, right? Yeah. It's a lot to take in, but it's just an amazing film. I love the action bits as well, like the whole time distortion and when they're falling off the cliff, off the road in the car.
Yeah.
And Joseph Gordon-Levitt's fighting, and there's that scene where they're bouncing off the roof. It's just unreal, man. Elliot Page is in that now, right, as well. It's a great film. There was that time he was knocking him out the park. I mean, he still is now, DiCaprio, but there was that. There was, what was it? That was the same time, or just after the one you mentioned, Shutter Island.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And then was it right before? What was the next one he did? The Great Gatsby or some shit. He was just banging films out back then.
Yeah. That's my number one, mate, of all time. Inception. I think
favorite of it.
Yeah.
What I've got from this list is you've never seen a film before like 2002.
What? I did Goodfellas. That was
I'll let you off. That was one. I feel so bad that so many we've missed. You know what I mean? Like Arnold Schwarzenegger's not even in here. How can you have
I knew a guy, right, a really annoying little fella that could do a wicked impression. George,
I'm not doing it. I did it last week. My throat's. I can't do it now. My throat is just spent. I've been talking about 7 hours. Am I doing my number one then?
Do it, mate. Like lay it on us.
I feel like I'm coming across a bit of a nerd now, but number one for me in favorite films of all time is Watchmen. Zack Snyder, 2009. I think I saw it 3 times at the cinema. I've already got I forgot her name now. Leanne. Don't tell I said that. Part of Breaking Bread operations here. She's surprised. She said to me, "Oh, I love that film." I thought she was being sarcastic because nobody really loves the film. But yeah, again, it's based on an Alan Moore graphic novel. The only graphic novel I think that usually goes into like the Time, what the fuck ever it is, best 100 books ever written.
Yeah.
Because it's basically a comic book, but it's a story about a bunch of vigilantes really that dress up like superheroes, but they don't have superpowers, right? Apart from one of them who's not really part of the group. But you have to see it to understand it. But what's cool about it is it's kind of set in an alternate reality, so it's set in real life. So it's set in most of it's set in the Cold War, right? There in between America and Russia.
Yeah.
So you've got Richard Nixon, the whole Watergate scandal plays out in this film, and the moon landing and all that shit. And the fact that you've got cameos in this book from real people, so it's like Andy Warhol and like people that were alive in at the time. Henry Kissinger are all in this book. But yeah, the way it's brought to life is it's one of the most faithful adaptations of anything I've seen. It's basically like frame for frame, but just in real life. The effects are amazing. It's Zack Snyder, so he's got like that affinity for the source material. The cast's wild. There's not really that many people in it who are mega famous.
Yeah.
Like I think top of my head, Billy Crudup maybe is like the most recognizable. Maybe I don't know, but yeah, it's just a boss film. And if you watch it, get like the director's cut. Maybe not the extended, not the ultimate cut, because that's got like an animated bit in the middle, which only makes sense if you really know the comics, but or the graphic novel. But yeah, it's just it's another story that talks about. I could talk about it all day. It's all about like morality and how these dudes deal with being vigilantes, but they're not really super powered. And then this guy comes along who, by some like scientific freak accident, gets every superpower there is pretty much, and how the world deals with that. And there's one major change: the way that it ends is changed for film, because the ending in the book is you just kind of laugh if it happened in real life. But like, I would recommend reading the book. But if you're not going to read the book, which you're probably not, watch the film. It's the best superhero film, which isn't really a superhero film, I think, that's been made. Probably. Or certainly most faithful adaptation. And the guy that plays Rorschach, Jackie Earl Haley, is just he's amazing in it. Like, what do you think? Because Rorschach's the guy that you're supposed to like him, because he's kind of like the main character, but he's a vigilante who like. There's a part of the book where it tells you how he's tracking people down. He dresses like a private eye with a changing mask on, and there's like a kid that's been kidnapped and raped and stuff and fed to this dude's dog. It's pretty horrific. It's like the film was released as an R. Like it was most comic book films, they knock them down to 12, so everyone goes and sees it, or 15 at least. But yeah, so he's uncompromising. So he beats this guy. I think he hacks him to death, right? So you're not supposed to like him because he's like a black or white kind of guy, right?
Yeah.
That's with the mask and everything. And it's about kind of compromise, but it's funny at the same time. And yeah, he's like I think he is like 5'2" in real life, so Jackie Earl Haley. But he's like he got like jacked for the role, and like he's pretty intimidating in the film. But yes, if you haven't seen it, I think you should see it.
Now, this has been an interesting podcast. I think, strangely, right, although we got there in the end, this was obviously we struggled at the beginning because we've been in this room for what feels like 44 days. I feel like I'm in a podcast within a podcast within a podcast at the moment.
Podception.
Podception. It's kind of give a weird insight into who we are. It's so weirdly personal. Like those.
I think so, yeah.
Do you think like it's given insight? What do you reckon,
Definitely
George?
changed Adam's opinion of you.
Yeah, I'm not coming back and do this. I'm not paying you for the next fucking video shoot. What I think would be a good one is 10 best underrated films of all time.
Let us know in the comments if that's something you can enjoy. Like this, I imagine this were a slog for you to get through this. If you got to this point, thank you very much for watching.
Do you know what? My underwear right now is completely drenched. And I haven't pissed myself or anything. It's just like...
I'm so moist.
It wasn't even that hot. We've just been in so long. It's like our body temperatures have heated up the room. We've been in here so long.
Is it me or you smell?
No, I do smell.
Yeah.
I smelled 4 hours ago, mate,
Oh,
after
mate.
we did the first episode.
I feel sticky. Right, I'm going to go rinse my balls in sink. I'll see. We'll catch you on the next one. Peace.